reaches, oh, that ball's out, that's live! Back the other way, Sam Hubbard! The Cincinnati Kid! Hubbard's got a convoy! Chased by Andrews! At the 30, the 20, he will score!
To the end zone, down the field, and it is deflected, and gone! Touchdown! A.J. Green!
Over goes back to throw, men are coming late, looks right down the middle, there's Eddie Brown, he has it at the 35 to the 30, he may go, 10-5, touchdown!
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up.
Yeah.
It is good!
Corey Dillon, he's gone. The knockout punch, you're looking at it. 65 yards. And they're back to throw as the blitz is on. Goes long, intended for Collinsworth. He has it down to the 20, touchdown. And Chris Collinsworth.
Throwing the long ball. Deep down the field. Johnson's coming. Touchdown. Cincinnati.
Look at Chase go! Oh my goodness, what a gear he just found! Chase for the touchdown! Wow, Chase is on the case!
It is no fluke. It is a fact. The Cincinnati Bengals are headed to Super Bowl 56. The play clock at 3. Shotgun snap. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. Germaine Burton has the football.
Yeah.
Coffin nails.
Bam, bam, bam! How about that?
I want to drink out of it. This is not for me. This is for Chico. So, thank you. You are Remouse. We are Remouse. Welcome on in. For those of you who have been here before, you know how this goes. For those of you who do not know, we are Chatterbox Bengals in Ohio. 10 to 12 every day on YouTube. Off the bench, 1 to 3 on ESPN, 14:10 in Dayton. So if you hear us on the radio here, you see us on YouTube, that is where we will be. Gentlemen, it is game day, spelled D-E-Y. How are we feeling?
I am excited about it. You know, it's been a long time since I've been here to Champions Grill.
Yes,
I was at
the first one.
I was at the first one. That week didn't go well. We played the worst team in the NFL, the Patriots. We lost. I don't know if you guys want me to leave right here and right now because of that, but it's been a long time. You know, I look around, it's a packed house. I like to get the vibes of a room. I see some Miller Lights.
Yeah.
I see some Mick Ultras. Is this a Miller Light bar? Is this a Bud Light bar?
There's a Miller deal today. There's a
Miller deal today.
Yeah, so there's some deal to get some Miller Lights today, so go order some Miller Lights. Okay. That's what's going on. It's a party bar. Casey's fixing everything on this computer right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Elliot. I'm doing fantastic. This is a very exciting game tonight. It's a lot riding on tonight.
Sure, everything's riding on tonight.
AFC North is in the balance here, and I'm excited. I think Joe Burrow is going to show us what he's truly made of.
Yes, so by the way, just before we start the show, I want to make something very clear. I needed a USB port, so I decided to go to Myers. Shout out to Myers. I went to Myers.
I think there's not an S on that.
Okay, I think it's like Kroger's then?
Yes.
Kroger's and Myers? Yes. So I went to Myers, and what happened was I said, can I get an iPhone charging box? And they're like, okay, yeah, you can have one. So they hand me this one. Now, I'm not going to judge this one, but it looks like it came in like a Barbie box, which I'm okay with. That's fine by me. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, do you have like a normal one? And they're like, no, we don't. I'm like, okay, so I'll buy it. $28. $28 this cost. I plug it into the thing down there, and it explodes. The whole thing breaks. So Meyer, you'll be hearing from my attorney. I don't have one. Okay, Chatterbox Bengals live up until the game just in a bit. I mentioned the Bengals here. Bengals over the Raiders this past weekend on Sunday. It was phenomenal. Your thoughts on the Bengals' big win over the Raiders? Again, it was a slaughter. 41-24 the final.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the NFL, I've had this take so frequently that it doesn't matter what it looks like when you win a game. Like the Giants game, hideous Sunday night football game. I think it was actually the lowest rated Sunday night football game in decades. That being said, it was a win.
Yeah.
And I always said, like, a win's a win. That one didn't feel as good. This one felt great.
Feels
though.
very good.
I mean, we know this offense is elite. Like we know when Joe Burrow is upright, when you give Joe Burrow time, good things happen. And for the most part, the offensive line has done that even with Orlando Brown's injury. But listen, it was the first win where you never worried about it, right?
Yeah.
We got 4 wins this year. 9 weeks in, I think we could all agree that it's not the season we want. It was the first win where you didn't really ever worry about losing the game.
Correct. That was the big thing for me. I said if you beat the Raiders like you beat the Giants, that doesn't really give me any confidence. It's a great win. Any win in the NFL is a great win. But I need to see that the Bengals dominate. Every other team in the NFL this season has dominated an opponent. So I needed to see that from the Bengals. Burrow tied his career high passing touchdowns in this game, 5 touchdowns. He was 27 for 39, 250 yards. Did throw a pick six. He is now 5th in the NFL in passing yards, tied for 2nd in passing touchdowns with Lamar Jackson, and is maybe having the best season of his career. If there are negatives about this season, if there were negatives about the start of the season.
There's a lot of negatives.
A lot of negatives. You can't have any negativity about Joe Burrow. If there was any doubt that the wrist was going to be hurt, if there was any doubt that he's unhappy, and he might be a little fired up. He's certainly a little angry after the win on Sunday. But saying all that, Joe Burrow has been incredible. Casey, is he going to have to carry the load again tonight?
More than likely. But, I mean, that's what we should expect out of our franchise quarterback, out of a guy like Joe Burrow. And I don't think that he's I think he's up for the task.
I think so, too.
I think he's up for the task. This Ravens defense isn't nearly as vaunted as it was in years prior. It's one of the worst passing defenses in all the league. So I think Burrow should have a pretty decent day tonight. He's without T. Higgins. He's without Orlando Brown Jr. But you know what? I think we've got the mixture of the right guys on offense to still be able to make things happen.
Sure. Ravens have scored the most points in the NFL, 283 in 9 games, averaging 31 points a game. The Bengals defense, of course, has been, in a word, putrid. I don't want to be too mean, but they've been putrid. They have been allowing 25 points a game. That ranks 8th in the NFL, 8th worst in the NFL, excuse me. Is there going to be any way to stop Lamar Jackson? I'll get into the Lamar stats from the last time these two teams played, but in my eyes right now, there's no way to stop him. He's having an MVP season yet again. Anybody who said Lamar Jackson can't throw, clearly you don't watch football, because he's been anything short of miraculous this season. He's been incredible. Is there going to be any way to stop him tonight?
There is. I'm glad you brought up Lamar Jackson. Obviously, that's who we're playing tonight. But there is a contingency of Bengals fans that want to discredit Lamar Jackson at every turn. And I get it. We're fans. You're a Ravens fan. I'm a Bengals fan. We're not going to see eye to eye.
Yep.
But discrediting Lamar Jackson and what he is the best running quarterback in NFL history. He's better than Michael Vick. He's better than Steve. Like, he's better than all of these guys when you combined the running with the passing. And he's improved as a passer every single season. He is, without a doubt, the most frustrating player that we play, and we play him twice a year. And the reason he's so frustrating is, listen, it's no secret that our defense doesn't have a great pass rush. When we do get back there, when we do get in the backfield and it feels like, oh, we're finally going to stop the Ravens, we're finally going to get Lamar Jackson down, he spins out of it, he stiff-arms Sam Hubbard down to the ground, and it continues on, and you're like, golly, he's so freaking frustrating, but he's so good. I don't know if we can stop him.
No.
And I'm honestly, at this point, I'm almost done worrying about it because he's almost inevitable. And it seems like the times that we have beaten the Ravens in the Joe Burrow era, It's been this. It hasn't been a 21-17 game. It's been we scored 38 points. It's been we scored 35. It's been Joe Burrow throwing for 520 yards. It's been those. I know the playoff game we scored a low-scoring game. That wasn't Lamar Jackson. We didn't have to score 30 points. If Lamar Jackson's out on this field, admittedly with this defense, a lot of points are going to be scored. So I don't know if we can stop Lamar.
Lamar Jackson, the last time he played the Bengals, 26 for 42, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns. Did have a costly fumble in overtime that didn't end up mattering. Ran for 55 yards as well. It's going to be near impossible. Casey, speaking of Lamar Jackson deniers, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Is there going to be a way to stop him tonight?
No.
Nope.
No, Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, the last couple games that we've played against the Ravens, has allowed Lamar to be able to not only run the ball very efficiently, but he's throwing for over 280 yards every single time that we've gone up against Lamar with Todd Monken at the helm. And I just think, like Reed said, he's kind of inevitable. He's kind of this quarterback that you can't really game plan for to stop him. You can only do so much to limit the guy. And quite honestly, you already said exactly what it's going to take. It's going to take us having a 35, 38-point game against the Ravens and Lamar to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen very often. So the Bengals, they're in for a tough one today.
I think so, too. Speaking of Lamar Jackson and who he has to throw to, they're coming off a 41-10 win over the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos stink. But nonetheless, they beat them 41-10. They're 5-4 technically. Their 5 wins don't count. Zay Flowers had 5 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. There wasn't a ton of involvement with the other pass catchers on the Baltimore Ravens. But an old face does return to the AFC North. Deontay Johnson is now in Baltimore. He will be playing tonight. Do you expect him to make any sort of difference in the pass-catching room for the Baltimore Ravens? I have had the opinion that if it wasn't for the Ravens' terrible receivers or pass catchers, Lamar would be even better than he was, because I think there's been a lot of drop passes.
I don't know if they have.
A lot of drop passes, Reed.
I will tell you this. I will tell you this right here. When you take in quarterback, running back, tight ends, wide receivers, when you put them all in a basket, who in the NFL has a better room than the Baltimore Ravens? I don't know. The answer is nobody.
Yeah.
Truly, the answer is nobody, because the Chiefs don't have that. The Bills don't have that. No one has that. Even maybe the Lions. But, I mean, there's a reason that the Ravens have scored the most points in the NFL. There's a reason for that. Do I think Deontay Johnson's going to make a huge impact? I don't know. How big of an impact can you make on a team that already is the best scoring team in the league? Now, I have said that about this Ravens offense once before, and it was about their running game. I said, you added Derrick Henry to the best rushing offense in the league. How much better can this rushing offense get? Turns out, a lot better.
A lot better.
Turns out a lot better. Now, is Deontay Johnson the kind of impact that Derrick Henry has? Absolutely not. We know that.
Receivers don't matter either.
Receivers matter. Running backs matter. You can just kind of get them off the scrap heap, and they matter eventually. But I think that Deontay Johnson, yes, adds another. It's not a huge impact. It's more of, I guess if your team, if I want to do a baseball analogy here, you have the best bullpen in the league, and you just added another guy. You just added another setup man to where if this guy doesn't have their A game today, if this guy is banged up in the third quarter, here comes Deontay Johnson for 3 catches in the fourth and a touchdown, and you're like, I can't stop everybody here.
No.
I can't stop everyone.
I do think the Deontay Johnson trade raised the floor. I think that's what really helped the Ravens, is that there was a huge discrepancy between whether they were going to have a good game or really bad game. I think Deontay Johnson, he raises the floor for the Ravens, and whether we think that's going to make a huge impact for this game, I don't know, because we don't have the greatest defense. But for their future, it does look very bright for them in that receiving room.
I would say so. This game right now, and this is just like what I'm thinking of at this very second, it feels like it's going to be like that Commanders game. It's going to feel like whoever has the ball last is going to win. That's at least right now what I'm feeling. The Bengals, and I'll get into the stats and everything like that in a bit, it seems like they would score, and it was so easy for the Bengals to march down the field against Baltimore a month ago. It was so easy. that they wouldn't take any time off the clock, and then Lamar gets the ball, and then he gets to do whatever he wants. Because Lamar has unlimited time. Nobody's going to touch Lamar. Not one single defensive player on this Bengals, that includes Trey Hendrickson, is going to touch Lamar. So that means they're going to eat the clock. They're going to have control of the clock. I don't want to score right away, which is a terrible thing to say because you want to score as many points as possible. But if you do those 75-yard incredible touchdowns to Jamar, it just leaves even more time for Lamar Jackson. That's at least what I'm thinking off the top of my head right at this very second.
I mentioned you brought this up on Off the Bench earlier today, and you just brought it up again about you gotta kind of take control of the time of possession of the game. Sure. I think that's what you're alluding to. To do that, you got to have something, and that is a run game.
That's right.
The Cincinnati Bengals don't necessarily have a run game, and I've long said that they don't need one. I know it. Yes, you got to hand the ball off here and there, but I think we all know that if this team gets to where it needs to be, it's going to be through Joe. It's going to be through Jamar. It's going to be through T as long as we have them. And yes, you hand it off to Chase here and there. There's no doubt that a run game is good, but that's the reasons that this team can't, and I know they did against the Eagles, but that's the reason that this team often doesn't have the 12, 11-minute drives that you see other teams having. It is very much a quick strike. Now, I will say this. It doesn't have to always be through the run game. You see Joe Burrow. What happened against the Raiders? He completed his first 12 passes of the game, and I think 10 of the 12 passes were less than 7 yards.
Yeah.
That is where the short passing game can be an extension of the run game, and that helps you control the game too. It doesn't have to be right up the gut, right off the edges. It can be, hey, let's move the ball around the field. We got 53 yards to work with. We snap the ball in the middle of the field. Let's see who we can get it to.
You mentioned the run game. The Bengals made a move at the deadline. How about that? They made a move, Reader.
Who would have thought?
The
new Cincinnati Bengals.
That's right. That's right. They're not the old Bengals. They're not the Bungles.
That's right.
The third in-season trade all time for the Bengals. They get Khalil Herbert from the Bears with the news that Zach Moss will be missing more time than expected. I said earlier today that running the ball again, it's going to be a problem. But if you're able to do it, you control that clock. Is Khalil Herbert going to be at all involved in this offense today? Maybe out of necessity. Is he going to be forced to?
I think he will have some snaps today. He is a dual-purpose back. He can pass protect. He can be a little explosive when you need to. He is a third down back. He is going to replace Zach Moss at some point. And I think what we heard from Joe Burrow this week in press conferences, he doesn't need to know the full playbook. He can tell him exactly what to do. He's going to be standing right by him throughout the night on offense. So I think that we're going to see some Khalil Herbert. I think that he can make an impact tonight. Hopefully it's a good impact. I don't know the exact great detail of impact that he's going to make, but it might not matter because Chase Brown has been phenomenal for us. He had 27-something carries against the Raiders, 120-something yards. You said we didn't have a run game. We might have just discovered that we had a run game.
Yeah.
And maybe that can lead into something great tonight where we actually can become a little bit more balanced. Maybe we can run the ball against this terrible Ravens defense.
Well, do we want to run the ball against them?
That's what I was going to say. It's last game. It was a receiving type of game. It was Joe Burrow and the pass catchers. I will say they did have both pass catchers, the big ones, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. T. Higgins not playing yet again tonight, which means he has missed half the season. Half the season he has now missed. A lot of the fan base before this year wanted him extended, including myself. I just thought if you have an elite offense, why take a piece away from that if you can pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow? In a dream scenario, that's what I would have liked to happen. But at this point, there's just no reason to extend this guy if he's unable to play games, right?
When T. Higgins is on the field, you quickly talk yourself into, hey, we should give this guy an extension. Hey, this offense looks damn good.
Yeah.
Let's keep this offense, this core together as long as possible. Then he misses a game. Then he misses a second game and a third game, and then you go, then you remember, this is why I can't give you, T, I want you to be a Cincinnati Bengal as long as you can. This is why I can't give you $30 million.
Yeah.
This is why I can't give you $25 million guaranteed. If you can work out in this era of the NFL a deal that is structured on play, which doesn't happen anymore, it's all guaranteed money. If you can do that, yes, keep T on the roster as long as possible. If you say, hey, T, You play 17 games, here's $30 million. You play less than 10, here's 15 or something like that. If he's okay to that, yes, you sign him up every time. But you can't extend this guy as much as you want him to. You cannot pay that much money. What's the big buzzword when you're talking about salary caps in the NFL? It's dead money. This is a dead cap hit. T. Higgins doesn't play, that's a dead cap hit. That's a dead hit. If the money that you are putting towards your roster is not on the field, it can't be justified. I want T. Higgins here. I want T. Higgins to play over the next 3 years, 17 games a year in Bengals stripes. I think we know at this point, in this point of his career, that he's not going to play 17 games. You can't bank on that. He's shown us nothing else.
No.
So you can't extend him, no.
T. Higgins, 9 catches, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns a month ago against the Ravens. Played a significant role in that game, rather. Mike Gesicki has picked up the slack the past 2 weeks without T. Higgins, in T. Higgins' absence. 12 catches, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns for Mike Gesicki. Do you expect, Casey, that to continue again without T. Higgins?
Oh, man, it's going to be a tall task to replace T. Higgins. But, man, Mike Gesicki has been phenomenal in doing so in the last few weeks. And really we saw glimpses of this the first couple weeks of the season when T. Higgins was not playing against the Chiefs, against the Patriots. Who did they target in the red zone? Who did they target on third downs? It was Mike Gesicki. He filled in that role phenomenally in that stretch, more than I was expecting, and I think that we can expect it to continue. He is a phenomenal piece on this team, a very cheap option, I might add at that. And from what we've seen so far this season, I think we can expect him to fill in those shoes the way that we expect him to.
I wanted Mike Gesicki to be good this year. After Reed's guy, Irv Smith, laid an egg all season long I wanted Mike Gesicki to be good. But up until recently, you haven't really had that ability to use him like I'd imagine the Bengals thought they would when they brought him in as a wide receiver. He is now having that ability to play as a wide receiver, and it's making him a superstar.
Listen, that's the other thing is when we talk about the revolving door of rosters, when it comes to the Bengals, everyone's like, well, why didn't we keep C.J. Uzomah a couple years ago? Oh, why didn't we keep receiving 4 touchdowns?
Yeah.
If I told you before the year that our tight end number 1 is going to score 4 touchdowns, have 700 yards, every single Bengals fan in this bar right now, you take that. You take that. That's a really good tight end. And he's not even really a tight end. We're seeing that. That's what you're alluding to. He's kind of become that, I don't want to say wide receiver number 2. He's been kind of our slot guy. He's been our guy to chunk up. He's our second leading receiver in both yards and receptions. He's just a very multifaceted player.
Yeah.
And he has definitely stepped up when we needed him to, especially, we get our biggest offensive output last week. Mike Gesicki scores 2 touchdowns. That's not a coincidence. Now, he's not a player you force feed. No. Nothing like that. You got to give what they take. If they're going to double team Jamar Chase, you find somebody else open. It's simple as that.
Does it concern you, and I don't mean to pick on T. Higgins all night long, but T. Higgins, all of his injuries have been sustained like on that Friday, Thursday practice. It's not in games where he's getting hurt. It's just crazy to me.
Well,
especially the first one where I think that literally 24 hours before, maybe even less, 12 hours before, it's the healthiest I've ever been. I feel great. Boom, injured. And all these practice injuries are just killing me right now. If you get injured, I'm not rooting for injuries. I'm not cheering for them. But if you get injured in a game, I understand it. The injuries in the practices every single time for T. Higgins is the most concerning part of all of this, at least for me.
When it comes to T's injuries, I know Casey, we give Casey a lot of flack on our show off the bench about he's like, Joe Burrow's not injury prone. And he's like, because they're all freak incidents. And they are all freak incidents, right? It's the wrist that happened on a Thursday night football game against the Ravens last year. It's the ACL, all that stuff. T. Higgins is undoubtedly injury prone.
No doubt about it.
Because it's those small, it's never a torn ACL. It's never like some catastrophic injury that takes you out for the year. It's the hamstring. Yeah. It's the back being tight. It's those things that you just kind of get when you're an NFL football player. These guys are having collisions every single week. That's equivalent to a car crash. Yeah, you're going to pick up some injuries throughout the year, And yes, it definitely concerns me. And I'm with you. I don't want to bash T. Higgins all night long because when he is on the field, there's not a bigger T. Higgins supporters anyway. Who else in the NFL has a call for an entire stadium that every time he catches it, you hear everyone go, T.
Nobody.
You hear it through the broadcast. We love him here.
Oh, yeah.
But there are concerns.
Jay Bruce. How about Jay Bruce? You like Jay Bruce? You're a Reds guy.
I do not like Jay Bruce. No.
I poo-pooed the Bengals defense at the beginning of the show. The Ravens defense hasn't exactly been lights out either. They have been, they've given up the 10th most points in the NFL, including 38 to the Bengals in that last game a month ago. The over for this game is 52. Do either of these defenses step up? Is this going to be a shootout? And more importantly, Trey Hendrickson, I mentioned him, will he touch Lamar Jackson? I don't think he will. He leads the NFL in sacks after last game. He sacked, I think Gardner mentioned 15 times. He leads the NFL in sacks at the moment. He was unable to get close to Lamar Jackson. I think that might have been his worst game of the season, if I remember. It was one of his worst games of the year against the Ravens. Is anybody going to be able to stop anybody in this game, or is it going to be that shootout that we were talking about earlier?
Casey?
I mean, I can't help but feel like it's going to be a shootout. The both defenses are just very poor. Offenses are lights out. It would take a lot for it to become some sort of slugfest. And really, the Ravens are more geared to work that way, in all honesty. I mean, they got Derrick Henry there who can just pound the rock over and over again. That's not the game the Bengals really want to get themselves into. They want to have a game script where they get out ahead and they stay out ahead and they continue to put up points and pressure this Ravens offense to continue to try to catch up with them. Now, can the Bengals get themselves in a game script like that, like they did against the Ravens earlier on this season? We'll see. I certainly hope so, but it's going to take a tremendous effort from this offense to almost be perfect tonight.
Yeah, Derrick Henry, you mentioned Derrick Henry, 1,052 yards in 9 games this season. On pace for 2,000, averaging over 6 yards a carry. He leads all rushers in the NFL with 11 touchdowns. 5 of those have been first touchdowns, for those that care about that stat. The Bengals did a great job of bottling him up in the last performance a month ago. However, he did bust off for a 50-yard run after Coach Taylor decided to kick a 75-yard field goal. But Derrick Henry's a guy that you have to at least contain a little bit. The past couple times, the Bengals have been somewhat effective. I know if you look at if you're box score watching, you don't really see that. But he hasn't been the reason the Ravens have been winning games against the Bengals. He's been a large part of it, but he hasn't been the main reason. Lamar Jackson having all the time in the world. Zay Flowers having 15 seconds to just go run in circles out in the field, out downfield, and just to be wide open after 15 seconds of a scramble. That's what's going to happen tonight. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to bust off for 150 yards. This isn't going to be the Derrick Henry show. This is going to be the Lamar Jackson show if the Bengals do lose this. You mentioned that the Ravens, that's what they could be, right? They could be the control of the clock. I think the Ravens are going to come out swinging. They're going to try to get up as much as they can, and once they get that 2-score lead, that's when they sit. That's when they use Derrick Henry, and that's when it's hardest to stop him. The defense is going to be tired at that point, and it's hard to take a 275-pound running back down. Readeroo, are they going to be able to stop Derrick Henry? Is Derrick Henry going to even be a factor in this game?
So I will say this. I gave Lamar Jackson all the credit in the world. I truly believe that Lamar Jackson is the third best quarterback in the NFL. He's a Hall of Fame talent. He's going to win multiple MVPs. He's already won 2. He's going to win more. And before it's said and done, he will win a Super Bowl. I'm sorry to say that will happen eventually. This team's too good. He's too good for that not to happen unless, he gets a catastrophic injury. That being said, I still would rather Lamar Jackson be the reason we lose than Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
There's something about watching a team just get 5-yard run, 5-yard run, 7-yard run, 8-yard run that just bleeds you dry. That just takes your soul out of your body. Just watching a handoff to Derrick Henry and watching him not get touched until he gets to the linebackers, falling forward 7 yards. We didn't see that last time. We did a good job bottling him up, but as we know, Derrick Henry, sometimes as big as he isn't always the 5-yard a game guy. I know that's what the stats come out to, but it's normally he gets stuffed. Oh, here comes a 70-yard rush from Derrick Henry.
Yep.
He has that break-off potential. You know what? You mentioned just a second ago before we segue into whatever next question you have, talking about Trey Hendrickson. Are we going to be able to get to Lamar Jackson? There's one thing I want to say about the Cincinnati Bengals defense real quick, and I know we all know it's bad. Trey Hendrickson is first in the NFL in sacks. He has 11 sacks.
Yep.
He is slightly off pace to break the NFL record in sacks. Slightly off pace. He gets 2 sacks tonight. He is on pace for the record.
That's insane.
That being said, the Cincinnati Bengals are 26th in sacks. We have the sack leader. We have a guy that is on pace to have the best season in terms of the statistic of sack in NFL history in Trey Hendrickson. And we are almost dead last in sacks of a team. That shows how poorly this defense is constructed around Trey Hendrickson.
By the way, the last time they played the Ravens, you know who the only Bengal player was to record a sack in that game? I'll give you a guess. Anybody want to guess?
B.J. Hill.
No. This is your guy, Casey, Sam Hubbard.
Sam Hubbard.
Superstar Sam Hubbard, who can't get near within 50 yards of a quarterback, was the only pass rusher to sack Lamar Jackson last game. That was it. That was all we had. Was one sack by Sam Hubbard. He made a significant play in the end zone as well to get a safety on Derrick Henry. But the Bengals defense just hasn't been in. It was poorly constructed from the start. I think we all knew that. I think Reed and Casey make the joke that they thought when they signed Sheldon Rankins and you sign all these guys, right? Maybe you sort of have a defense that can work. The Bengals defense is one of the worst in the NFL. It's beyond terrible. Joe Burrow in a press conference said this week, if he doesn't score every single drive of every single game this season, he's going to linger about it for the rest of the year. The whole year, he's going to think back to the drives he doesn't score. That's how bad the defense is. And you're starting to see it on the offensive side of the ball. You're starting to see the frustration build in Joe Burrow. I'd imagine you're starting to see it a little bit in Lou Anarumo and Zach Taylor, who know they've got no help. They've got nothing back there. So this game is going to be a massive test, not only because the Bengals defense, we haven't seen a ton of it. I will say they have had decent performances. Against the Patriots, you hold that team to 16 points. You hold the Kansas City, you laugh. Was that a laugh? That's a good team. You don't think New England Patriots are a good team?
Yep.
They beat the world's #1 Bengals. After that, you hold the Chiefs to, I think, 19 points. They scored an additional touchdown on a fumble. You give up a touchdown to the Raiders on a pick six as well. You hold the Giants completely to 7 points. There have been moments this season where the Bengals defense has been there. It just hasn't been consistent enough. They haven't been able to help Joe Burrow. And you come to this game against the world's best offense, they have to show up a little bit. And if Trey Hendrickson doesn't have any help whatsoever, then we're done. It's over. Myles Murphy, where is he? Where's Myles Murphy? It's been B.J. Hill and it's been Trey Hendrickson. Cam Taylor-Britt has not been good this season, has not been good enough. He's had one of the best, most spectacular interceptions one could ever imagine. It was incredible. But outside of that, he started talking a little bit, and then it was over. The Bengals defense, the secondary, has been torched all season long. So my question to you, is this defense going to hold up one time? Because in the past, you've seen the Bengals at least stop teams to 3 points. And this is where I make the joke on Off the Bench where the Bengals don't look good on a 10-game winning streak, because the defense lets the New Orleans Saints, lets the Tom Brady Tampa Bay Buccaneers march down the field. But once they get into the red zone, or maybe right before it, the Bengals defense is able to plant their feet and get the stop.
Yeah.
This year it hasn't been that. It's been we're allowing touchdowns right off the rip. The Raiders scored an opening drive touchdown immediately. It wasn't even a thought. That's the difference between this year and the last couple of years. The turnovers haven't been there. There's been some turnovers, mind you, but it hasn't been the turnover story like it has been the past couple of years. They have to make a stop tonight.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's been those. I brought this up before that I feel like sometimes it's misremembered what this Bengals team. Some haters about the Bengals will say this team was, carried by their defense because of those playoff games or low-scoring games and everything like that. You look at the team that went to the Super Bowl. You look at the team that went to the AFC Championship game. That was a top 5 offense and like a top 17 defense in terms of total points. But one thing that they always did do is when they needed a stop, when they needed to get the ball back, when they needed a turnover, when they needed to hold a team to 3, they were able to do that. And that's when you play a good team, who I think the Ravens are probably the 3rd best team in the NFL. When you play a team that good, you're going to need to come up with the turnover. We got it in overtime against the Ravens last time. Didn't turn into a win for us, but we got it right there. That's what it takes. It's going to take, they're knocking down the steps, knocking on the door before halftime, and, we just come up with the big turnover that keeps them from scoring, and we go into halftime keeping it where it is. Or it's right off the rip and we get the turnover that gives us an early cushion in the game. Those are the things that you need to do if you want to beat a really good team, and a team that, is betting lines favored by a touchdown.
That's right. I will say this, and speaking of problems over the field, there's been one offensive problem this season. One. His name is Germaine Burton. Now, John, I'm not going to sit here and make fun of Germaine Burton all show. I did bet him, by the way, for those that care. I have hit a first touchdown score every single show, Reed. I don't know if you know this trend. Every single time I've hit one.
Okay.
Germaine Burton plus 5,000 to score first tonight. He is active. He was inactive last week for reasons that I will go over right now. Burrow was pissed off at him. Everybody was pissed off at him after that game. Because before that game, everybody, I think it was like a PR stint. I think there was an email to the entire roster that said everybody, and then what happens on Friday and Saturday? He sleeps through walkthroughs. He doesn't show up to practice. He doesn't call anybody. We talk about not having T. Higgins. We drafted a guy that could be able to replicate at least some of what T. Higgins can do. But now you can certainly write all that off. You can write off Germaine Burton. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to the guy. He's 23 years old. I'm not going to sit and make fun of the guy for going to a casino at whatever he went, 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm not going to make fun of him for it. What I will say is you had problems, off-the-field problems with Germaine Burton coming into this season. You saw those. Everybody knew about him. That's why he fell to the third round. The Bengals said, you know what? I don't care about that. Let's draft him anyway. He's a first-round talent. Let's see what he can do. He hasn't been able to be on the field this year. And we can say whatever we want. Last week's nonsense was the first time we heard about it. This has been an ongoing problem all year. You saw it, I think, in the preseason when Kirk Herbstreit, now Michaels, were talking about him sleeping through practices. We all thought it was a joke, or maybe they were alluding to something in college. They were talking about, I think, this season. And you've seen it now. So you talk about an offense that's been phenomenal this year because of Joe Burrow. You need Germaine Burton. You need him. He's active tonight. He has 2 catches this year, each for 40-plus yards. Is there any chance Germaine Burton has a night tonight against a Ravens defense who, by the way, has given up the most passing yards by far in the NFL, 280 a game?
I like to think that Germaine Burton's going to show himself at some point in this game. Do I think he's going to go 8 catches for 100 yards? No, that's not his game. You say he has the ability to be a T. Higgins kind of player. He doesn't have the same skill set as T. Higgins. T. Higgins, you throw the ball up 7 yards down the field, you watch him on top. Germaine Burton, he's very much a downfield threat, which is good. You need those kind of guys. Last week, what happened with Germaine Burton reminds me of a son of his dad is a successful business owner,
sure,
right? And he's like, hey, son, I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom, right? Here it is. And on day one, actually before day one, before he even has an opportunity to take over the responsibilities that his dad's trying to bestow upon him, he doesn't show up.
Oh, yeah.
He wrecks the car before he gets to work. He does everything wrong. Germaine Burton was given a golden opportunity. He's been asking, what was the quote? He's, I can't do anything if I'm not on the field. Hey, T. Higgins is hurt. The other weapons we have aren't really filling in other than Gesicki and Jamar Chase. Hey, Germaine, we know you have all this talent. Here's an opportunity. We're going to say glowing things about you. We want you to take over this responsibility. And what's he do? Doesn't show up to practice. Misses walkthroughs. All that stuff. I mean, it's just, you can't make that up. You really can't make that up.
We're going to focus on tonight's game, but you talk about like the draft. The Bengals haven't been great at drafting players over the past couple of years. They've had a hits. We know that. Saying that, you now go into next season. We talked about not being able to sign T. We don't know what Germaine Burton is. You have to give Joe Burrow the ability to throw the ball downfield. It has to happen. You have to now draft a new wide receiver because Germaine Burton's not cutting it, and maybe he locks it in. I saw the report on Twitter just a couple minutes ago. I think it was Kelsey Conway who tweeted out, he's been locked in this week. It's been a different Germaine Burton this week, per the source. Now, who knows what that is? Who knows what that means? But apparently he's locking it in right now. Casey, do you think there's any chance Germaine Burton goes off tonight? And what are your thoughts on the Bengals having to draft another wide receiver next season early on?
I'm going to say, for the sake of this team, they cannot afford to miss on that. on that type of talent. So I'm going to say that I'm out on the idea of drafting a receiver next season.
Really?
I am out on that. But tonight being the night that he goes off, it would be poetic. I think that quick turnaround would be a fantastic storyline, right? Gets healthy scratch last week. You have 4 days to prepare against your rival, and then you go off. That's a great storyline. I just think 4 days is a tough and a tall task for a guy that isn't quite all the way there, obviously, in the maturity side. And plus, I think that you go into the Raiders week and you make a game plan for him, it's going to be a completely different game plan versus the Ravens. So yeah. I don't know if we can bet our livelihoods on him having a good game.
I like a big moment. You're going to forget all about Jamar Chase's contract issues, whether or not he's going to be able to play. You're going to forget all about it. He's been that ever since week 1. I think maybe week 3 is when he technically came in to the Jamar Chase we've seen now for the better part of this season. He's been incredible. Jamar Chase, is he going to cook tonight? Last game, 10 catches, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Ravens. One of those being for an incredible, I don't know if it was 80 yards, 75 yards, took a bubble screen, took it to the house. He's been incredible this year. Is he going to go off tonight? And by the way, he has to go off tonight.
I have admittedly in my Bengals fandom, since doing this show, have not given enough credit to Jamar Chase. You look at this team, and if you could say, is any Cincinnati Bengal going to be in Canton someday? Who's the most likely person to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
You might be interested in saying Joe Burrow, but the answer is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is absolutely incredible. I don't give him enough credit. And when I realized I didn't give him enough credit was that very play that you're talking about, the 70-yard touchdown on the bubble screen in the fourth quarter against the Ravens. That's when I realized this dude's incredible. How many times have we seen Jamar Chase get 2-3 steps, gone?
Yeah.
2-3 steps, gone.
Yeah.
We all make fun of that play call a couple weeks ago against the Eagles. It's 4th and inches, and we throw something in the flats to Jamar Chase. There's a reason you do that, and it's because you're going, hey, look, can you do something? Can you make something happen?
Yeah.
Didn't happen that time. But Jamar Chase, yes, Jamar Chase will go off tonight. The secondary with the Ravens isn't very good. Jamar Chase has had his career days against the Ravens. There's something about a divisional rival that brings him to the tippy top.
I'm not going to talk about the negatives again, but I kind of have to. Joe Burrow spoke this week about the NFL scheduling the Ravens.
One question.
We made it one. I gave you one positive thing. Joe Burrow spoke this week about the NFL scheduling the Ravens on Thursday night, the same day, the same time of the year, the last time you saw a season-ending injury. I think he was laughing about it, he was joking about it, but anybody who plays sports, watches sports, we're all a little bit superstitious, just a little bit. You have your own jersey, you don't wash your socks, you got all kinds of weird things you do. Do you have any bad vibes, bad magic in the air about this being a Thursday night game in Baltimore at the same exact time of the year where everything went wrong last season?
People have moments in their life, whether it's something in the world that happens, something terrible happening. They go, I remember where I was that day. I will never forget the emotion I felt when I saw Joe Burrow go down against the Ravens last year. No. To answer your question, no, I do not have any superstitious, because those are things I can't control, and I try not to worry about things I can't control.
That's fair.
In fact, I feel the opposite way. I feel really good about tonight. I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but it feels like this is setting up to be Joe Burrow's redemption. It's going to get his revenge against the Ravens on Thursday night prime time. I think this is setting up to be a beautiful story, a full circle moment for Joe Burrow in his career.
By the way, I was responding to somebody in the chat. I had a really funny message, but I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it, PB's Ghost. Shout out to the chat right now. Again, every single day from 10 to 12 off the bench. We are Chatterbox Sports. I think you mentioned it just then that you're excited for this game. You think it's going to be the Joe Burrow revenge game. People usually don't like the Thursday night football games just because of the injury risk. You're playing on short weeks. Football is the most physical sport in the world. You don't want your guys going to war twice in a 4-day period. You don't want it. Saying that, I do think you're going to see a Bengals team that's playing the best football of the season right now. I think you're going to see that. They've won 4 of their last 6 weeks. They won against the Raiders on Sunday in massive fashion, best offensive performance of the year. And now you're taking on the Ravens on Thursday night. And I think you have momentum. I think the momentum's on our side. And by the way, for those of you who care about gambling, I'm sorry I'm going to say this right now, the spread keeps dropping. The spread keeps dropping a little bit. Now 5.5-point spread. It was 7.5. So good for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're going to win tonight. I'm going to put good vibes in the air. I'm going to say they're going to win. We'll go over predictions in a bit, but that's what I just wanted to say. I think there's good vibes in the air regarding that. The Bengals are hot. You're playing the Ravens on a short week. And I will say this, the Ravens did just blow the doors off the Denver Broncos, who, again, are fraudulent. But saying that, I think the Bengals have more momentum at this very second.
The Ravens are coming off a 30-point win against a 5-win team. We're coming off a 17-point win against a 2-win team.
Yeah, but
we feel better.
Well,
that's what we do here.
Listen, you got to spin zone it. They won the game. People forget they won the game against the Cleveland Browns. But they dropped the best safety in the world. Dropped an interception right in the breadbasket. That's what I'll say. That's some bad vibes there. Maybe it passes on to this game. I don't know. It skips a game. This is the good game. Right now, by the way, I saw a stat, not to give free ads to anybody. I saw when you play the Harbaugh brothers back-to-back, this is an interesting one. You win the first one, you beat John, and then you lose to Jim. That's a stat I saw today. So, by the way, Bengals play Ravens first, Chargers
many times
next
does
week.
that happen?
Maybe like 3 times. Either way, it's enough. These are trends, Reed. These are real things. These are statistics, huh? Nate said it. Nate heard that exact stat. I won't credit that show. Casey, will you credit the show?
No.
No, you will not. If the Bengals win this game and get to 500 after starting the way they did, it would feel like the biggest win in the world, no?
Yeah.
I think, we talk about expectations all the time. My expectations coming into this year were Super Bowl. Throw that in the garbage. That's not the expectation anymore. Expectation, as soon as we lost 3 in a row to start this season, as we always do, then it's let's fight for the postseason. You're starting to see that fight week by week slowly. If you get to 500 after this week, it's going to be the best we've felt as Bengals fans, I don't know, since the Jaguars game of last year, the Magic Jaguars game, when we're down 30 at halftime and T. Higgins throws an interception. I think it's the best I've felt in quite some time. I think I'm not going to say if we lose it, it's all over. I'm going to say instead that if you win it, you're all the way back.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you nailed it perfectly right there. Is if we lose the season over, no, we've gotten to a point like 4-6. I'm not gonna pin it up as a loss, and it's not easy, anything like that. And I'm tired of hearing talking about must-win games. But when you put yourself in an 0-3 hole, that's kind of what the season becomes. That being said, if we do win, it feels like we're all the way back.
I like that sound.
It feels like we're all the way back. And you and I have had a lot of discourse about this.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what the Bengals look like at the beginning of the year. They can start 0-6.
Say 0-6.
0-6.
Terrible take.
They go 11-6. I will take that.
Sure, you'll take it.
I will take that.
You're playing your best football at the end of the year.
In fact, there's no better scenario in which I'd want them to go 11-6.
This is where your water cup boy, Jacob, this is where he upsets me. Because he said this before this season. He said exactly what you said.
I was paraphrasing it.
Yeah, I know, and it makes me sick to my stomach because that's pretty much what happened. It couldn't have been a worse start. All
I'm saying is, if you leave your best football, the goal of every team,
sure,
in every sport, across the gamuts of levels, professional, college, amateur, you want to be playing your best ball at the end of the year. If you're the Fighting Altioras of Elder High,
that's right.
You want to be playing your best football in November.
We always do.
Sometimes. I don't see a whole lot of state championships.
No, back-to-back. They went back-to-back. Back-to-back state champs.
Runners up, right?
No, we're fine.
Okay. But yeah, so with the Bengals, I want them to be playing their best football in November, December, January. I don't want them to be playing their best football in September and October. I want it November and December.
That's fair. Casey, we have to focus on this game. Looking forward, though, if the Bengals are able to win 2 of their next 3, you're sitting at 6-6 in the AFC. 9 wins, I'm still saying gets you in. 9 wins gets you in. Ravens tonight, Chargers flexed to Sunday night next week, and then you have a bye, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you lose tonight, you won't be able to be 500 until December, which is kind of a crazy stat because of that bye. So you're not going to see the Bengals be a 500 team if you lose tonight until at least at some point in December. I don't know if that's an optically bad thing or just me just coming up with a bad stat there. Shout out to Luke Brenneman, I believe. He was the one who said that today. But, Casey, 10 wins, still attainable this year in your eyes, as of this moment.
Oh, absolutely. It's obtainable. I think that's honestly that they would be a lock for the playoffs at 10 wins. I still don't know if 9 gets you in.
No doubt.
I don't think 9 is a guarantee. It depends on who they win and lose to, but to me, these next 2 games, I think, are essential in where they're placed at in the playoffs. If they want to get to that point, I think you got to win both games. I think you got to win against the Ravens. You got to win against the Chargers, and that puts you in a really good spot to basically control your destiny the rest of the way there.
I keep making fun of the Broncos because they're terrible. They're 5-4. Who at this point are the comparisons with this year's Bengals? In this year's NFL 2024, who's the team that's right around with us? Is it the Jets?
No.
Is it the Chargers?
No.
I
got one. It's a 1-on-1 comparison.
Okay.
The Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
It is a team that hasn't performed overly well to this point in the season, but they've got an elite quarterback. They've got postseason success, and they've got injuries around the team that we're like, if they figure out a few things, if I'm an NFC playoff team and it's wild card weekend and you see, who do we play? You don't want to draw the Rams, and I think the same thing about the Bengals. Like if the Bengals sneak in as the 7th seed, God bless whoever that is. We're not. You keep making fun of the Broncos. We're not the Broncos. You don't want to face us. They might have more wins at the end of the year. They might win more games in the NFL than we do this year off a harder schedule. That being said, if it's a one-game winner-take-all, you'd rather play the Broncos every single time than the Cincinnati Bengals. And we have one of the worst defenses in the league. And the reason is one guy. It's Joe. That's the one-to-one comparison. Los Angeles Rams, Cincinnati Bengals. We both have elite quarterbacks. Yeah. We both have postseason success. We've both done it before. So, if you want the comparison, I think it's the Los Angeles Rams.
It's too early to talk about the postseason, but I like to do it because it's fun. So the Bengals right now are 2 seeds away from that final spot in the AFC playoff picture. Right now it's the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos hold that final spot at 5-4. The Colts, I believe, at this very moment, 4-5, are the spot above us, and then it's the Cincinnati Bengals. Outside of that, it's the Jets and nothing. The Bengals have an opportunity, win or lose tonight, and we're going to pray for a win. Win or lose tonight, the Bengals are going to be more than alive. I was looking at the percentages on this playoff thing on this website. With a win, 49%. They jump to a 49% chance to make the postseason with the win tonight. With a loss, it drops to 25%. You might say, well, 25% stinks. 25%, you still have a solid. I mean, that's 1 in 4. You can flip a coin 4 times and be right. That's the way I look at this. Did I get that right? Is that good?
No.
What?
No, not even close.
I almost got it. Here's the thing. The Bengals aren't dead. It starts tonight, but predictions for tonight, I said we were going to do it. I still think it's going to be high scoring. 52 is the total for this game. I'm going to say Bengals are going to win this game. They're going to get up early. They're going to hold a 2-score lead, just like they did in that last game. They had a 10-point lead into the fourth quarter, and pretty much a 10-point lead at least for the entirety of that game. I think they're going to have a 10-point lead, and they're going to hold it. I think they're going to score the same number of points. I'm going to say they win this game 38-30. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Ravens score a garbage time touchdown at the end to make it close, similarly to what we did to the Commanders in that game. They might have an onside kick for a chance with 30 seconds left. I'm getting specific with it. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but the Bengals are going to have control. They're going to ride the momentum they had with the Raiders. They're going to get 30 the final score.
I try not to get swept up in the intoxication of 30 points, putting up 40 points against the Raiders and winning and then our first easy win. Like, as I've said before, at the end of the day, very seldomly do you remember how you got the wins. You just remember if you won the game or not.
That's right.
You don't remember if it took a last-second touchdown. You don't remember if it took a last-second field goal, all that stuff. You remember the losses like that.
That's right.
But you don't remember the wins like that because at the end of the day, if you win the game, you just move on. You put it in the W category. So all that being said, I come in here. There's a reason that the Bengals are, 6-point underdogs.
Sure.
That they're looking, we're going on the road. We're going to Baltimore. Always tough to play in Baltimore.
Sure.
This is a team that is scoring the most points. We have the worst defense. Now, we can put up some points. We had 2 different 10-point leads in the fourth quarter when we played them the first time. Then eventually everything fell apart,
That's right.
and we lost.
That's right.
And we lost. All that being said, I said I'm trying not to get swept up in the intoxication of a big win that we had on Sunday. But here I am, swept up in the intoxication.
You're feeling it. You're starting
of a
to
win
feel it.
that we had against
Can
the
you
Raiders.
feel it, Mr. Krabs?
And I think that we win this game. I don't think it's going to be some 40-37 game.
Okay.
And I don't think it's going to be some ugly 19-17. Tell me if you've heard this in a prediction category before. 27-24.
I've heard that a lot.
I was going to say.
I've heard that
anytime
quite a bit.
Like, I got a prediction 27-24, or it's 24-20.
That's right.
One of those predictions. No one gets. I think it is. I think you Bible it. 27-24.
Casey.
I like that. I like that a lot. But I'm going to be intoxicated over this win. I think the Bengals put up at least 30. I'm going to say they put up 31. And the Ravens are going to score 24. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, a high-scoring affair. But I think the Bengals just get one more touchdown and edge out the win.
How many? By the way, a lot of people are saying, Reed, that you cursed our kicker, Evan McPherson. Not me, but a lot of people are because you played a round of golf with him.
Who?
Evan McPherson. He's the kicker of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, you're talking about E-Dog. My golfing buddy.
That's
E-Dog.
right. You played a round of golf with this guy,
Yep.
and now he can't make a 50-yard field goal. Do you take any blame at all?
Listen. Evan McPherson thought he was going to the links for just some friendly 18 holes of golf.
Sure.
Then he saw me just hammer the drive on number 1 and go out with the par. And he was shaking in his boots. I saw him start stretching his legs, and I was like, you better stretch them bad boys out because you're going to be running around this course here in a second. But do I think I jinxed him? Maybe I did. I don't know.
I think you did.
I think, you can want to put it on me. That's my golfing buddy.
I think you ruined our kicker. Over under 1.5 made field goals for Evan tonight.
Under, nothing but tutties.
Under. All right, I'm starting to feel the magic. I'm starting to feel the magic of the Cincinnati Bengals. That means it's time to call up Brooke. Brooke is somewhere in here. I don't know where the hell she is. So now we got to wait for her to get over here. There she is.
It's the Brooke plug.
This is the end of the show. Thank you all for listening to us. We are Chatterbox Bengals, but
it's the BP, the Brooke plug.
It's game day. That's DEY, which means it's time for a Who Day. So first we're gonna give you the plug, and then we're gonna do a Who Day cheer. Okay?
Okay.
Do you have the plug memorized?
What I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the plug.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, come to Champions on Saturday for Cincy Light specials all day. Let's go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats.
Well, that's what's happening on Saturday, the football game.
Are we so wait, so we're advertising Bearcats right now? Tim, we're advertising Bearcats?
We are a Bearcat bar. Well, we're
we are. We are a Bearcat bar. That's right. That's right. We are a Bearcat bar here at Champions Grill. That's what I've been told.
Wait, I don't think I
That's what I've been told. That's right. I love this ad read.
Okay. Yeah. Go Bearcats.
Okay.
Go Bengals.
Okay.
We're gonna win tonight.
So we're gonna do a Who Day. You ready? You're gonna
Just
say
a
Who
Who
Day.
Day?
You're gonna say Who Day, and then they're gonna say Who Day back.
Oh, okay.
You gotta do Who Day.
Yes.
Say it really loud though.
Like yell it?
Yeah. Everybody's getting real quiet right now, and they're trying to wait for the cue. So you gotta say
Okay.
Who Day.
Who Day?
Who Day! Hey, there it is. All right, we are Chatterbox Bengals. Go Bearcats, by the way. It is a Bearcats bar. That is what Tim told me right before. Everybody have a good night. We're going to stay right here. At least I am.
I'll be here.
Reed's
all
staying.
game, baby.
Jacob's here.
I'll be singing the song.
That's
we
right.
Score touchdowns. You guys better
We're
sing.
singing a song. Zach's here. Everybody's here tonight. Everybody, let's go. Thank you very much for tuning in.